Stocks trade range today ahead of the Federal Reserve interest rate decision coming in later today, even as concerns over Gaza linger. Realty as well as energy gain, while capital goods and financials drag today.
L&T delivers a strong performance, setting itself up to beat its order inflow and revenue guidance for the year. The company, however, trims its margin expectation. The stock slips on profit-taking.
Bajaj Auto clocks a heady 36% growth in domestic sales in October, powered by the premium segment, riding on strong customer interest. M&M also posts strong SUV volumes, but tractor sales for the company and Escort's Kubota dip.
Jindal Steel and Power and Kaynes Technology slump as their margins miss expectations, while slower than expected growth hurts Mankind Pharma. But Mapma India and Amara Raja Energy gained on improved profit.
Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Nisha Podar, and as always, I have with me my co-anchor Pavitra Parekh. So Pavitra, the weakness really lingers on in the market, but it is a very tight range in which Nifty 50 has really threaded today. So there is some support and there is some resistance. Let's take a look at the market at the moment. Nifty 50 is keeping it above 19,000 levels quite successfully, but 0.3% down in trade at the moment, 57 points loss. Sensex is also down and inching towards a loss of about 200 points, 190 or lost on Sensex at the moment. Bank Nifty, that is an underperformer compared to the key indices. And when we talk about mid caps, from yesterday, the theme continues. So mid caps are a spot which is doing much better than the key indices, but with a negative bias, it is flat at the moment. Let's take a look at the advanced decline ratio. It is pretty much neck and neck advanced decline. And with the mid cap participation, the strength can return to the market. But at the moment, it is neck and neck. BPCL is one of the top performers in terms of percentage, along with Tata Consumer, Hindalco, Bajaj Auto, and big boy Reliance Industries is also contributing and keeping the Nifty levels, 50 levels. But on the other hand, remember, another big heavyweight, HDFC Bank, is having yet another bad day, Pavitra.
Oh, absolutely. Hi, Nisha. Good afternoon. So, like you were pointing out, the market is a little bit maybe uncertain ahead of that big event later tonight as well. The Fed decision will be out, and ahead of that, there is that uncertainty which persists. The small cap index is holding up quite well, and even in the mid cap space, while the index is in the red, there are a lot of stocks which are moving on the back of their earnings coming through, and they're big moves. So on the negative side, you have JSPL, Kaynes, Star Health seeing very, very big moves. But on the positives also, you have something like a CMS Info Systems, like we mentioned, Ather, you have Birla Soft. So there's lots going on in terms of that. By the way, those are Ambuja Cement's numbers flashing on your screen. The stock has slipped after that. And I think on most fronts, there seems to be a bit of a miss. So the revenue has definitely come in well below what was expected. What has come through is around 3,700 crores in terms of the revenue. What we were expecting was around 4,100 crores. Margin also has come in at 19.5. What we expected from the poll was 19.8%. EBITDA is also a bit lower. So the stock has seen a bit of a cut come through. Those are some of the initial numbers that we have. Of course, we're waiting for the volume figures as well. What we expect on that is around 11.3% in terms of a jump versus last year. So those are important to watch for Ambuja Cements. But today the entire auto pack is also in focus because all of the sales figures have been coming in for the month of October. It is the start of a new month. So Sonia is here to bring us up to speed with all of the numbers that we have so far. Sonia.
Well, thanks a lot for that. It's largely been a good month for the auto sector. Let's start with the two-wheeler makers like Bajaj Auto, which reported very good numbers in the month of October. The highest ever domestic sales in October 2023. You had a total sales growth of 19% for Bajaj Auto, and domestic sales went up 36%, although exports continue to be under pressure. The pocket that has been under pressure this month is tractors. So both M&M and Escorts reported weakness in tractors this time. Escorts saw total sales fall by 9% year-on-year. Domestic sales fell by almost 8.7% and exports were down 13.3%. The management said that it was because of the delayed festive season, and this festive season was spread across 2 months. Hence, on a year-on-year basis, the numbers look like they are on the weaker side. If you look at, M&M, as I said, the tractor numbers were weak, but auto sales were very strong. Total auto sales coming in with a growth of around 32% year-on-year. Highest ever SUV sales for M&M at a 36% growth. However, the tractors were under pressure. Total tractor sales were down about 3%. If you move on to the commercial vehicle space, Eicher Motors saw very strong CV sales. Total CV sales up 24% year-on-year, while Tata Motors' total domestic sales were up just about 6%. Maruti's numbers also came through, total sales coming in at 1.99 lakh, higher than what the street was estimating. Nomura's estimates were about 1.93 lakh units. So largely the numbers were good this time, barring about tractors, which has been under pressure.
All right. Thank you, Sonia, for giving us all the details and even also looking at Maruti numbers that are just flashing on the screens. In fact, let's listen into what Rakesh Sharma, the executive director at Bajaj Auto, had to say about the growth the company has seen so far for the festive season. Listen in.
We are very pleasantly surprised by, the consumers' return to the stores in big numbers. We are in the 16th or the 17th day of the festive season, and I think the industry is doing pretty well, recording between 15 to 18% growth, and we are probably at twice the industry rate.
All right, that is Bajaj Auto and where they see things, especially for the festive season. But with that, let's move on and talk about the big global queue. Investors await the Fed's decision on interest rates later today. And according to the CME Fed Watch tool, the Fed funds futures pricing suggests more than a 99% probability that the Federal Reserve will keep rates at current levels. So no change. According to respondents of a CNBC-TV18's Fed survey, the Fed will not be hiking this time around. We have Steve Leesman here with all of the details. Steve.
Respondents to the CNBC Fed survey expect not just no additional hike this week, but no additional rate hikes at all. But what's interesting here is they have fully embraced this higher for longer mantra to the point where no rate cuts are now expected until the third quarter of 2024, as in don't hold your breath. Our Fed expectations chart from the survey shows 100% say leave rates unchanged, 5.29 is the peak rate, but 10.4 months, that's the average for how long the Fed will be on hold. And 57% of the respondents say that first cut doesn't come until September 2024. You'll remember this number, that date was as early next year. The 31 respondents divided on the outlook. 42% is the probability of a soft landing, 49% the probability of a recession, importantly below 50%. On the Fed rate outlook, you can see they've dialed back the cuts they had originally priced in. Now they're seeing about 75 basis points a cut by December 2024. It had been as much as 125 basis points of cuts. That's gone away. Diane Swak of KPMG writing in response to the survey, the Fed is likely to be stuck in a hawkish holding pattern as it weighs how much the rout in the bond market can dent the armor of consumers with so much savings still in their bank accounts earning interest. The inflation outlook shows the Fed does not forecast to hit its target even into 2025, with some thinking the Fed should be doing more to bring it down right now. Here are the numbers. 365, that's about where we are right now. That's where we end the year according to the average. 286 next year, down a bit, but not down much more to 2025. So the Fed still having work to do, which is where that higher for longer comes with. Growth, the slowdown that was going to hit the economy at any time this year, now forecast to hit next year. 0.73 is the one you want to look at right there. I will tell you, we had numbers like that for 2023. They did not come to pass. Respondents on average see the stock market ending the year about where it is now, but notching some gains next year and rising by about 13% by the end of 2025.
All right, so that's the summation coming in from Federal Reserve. No rate hike expected, but of course the commentary going forward is going to be extremely critical. And also remember, when is the rate cut likely to be? Is it going to be towards the end of 2024? Needs to be seen. With that, we'll slip into a short breather on Business Lunch. But when we come back, lock-in periods of a whole host of companies are ending in the month of November. We get you the entire list and more on the other side. Stay tuned.
So the market fall is definitely intensifying. It's now a near 80-point cut. We're almost below that 19,000 mark on the index as well. The banking stocks, the Nifty Bank Index is down around 200 points as well. And I just want to point out, remember we were talking about Ambuja Cement's numbers. So that stock is down 2.5% and the entire cement pack has come down with it. So whether you take a look at India Cements, Shree Cements, all of them seeing a big vertical fall right now. So that is the shape of the market. But an important story, since we're in a new month now, lock-in periods for a whole host of companies are ending in November, and Hormaz is standing by to take us through that entire list. Hormaz.
You know, it's a new month, as you just said, and lock-in endings are back. And this time around, we have 182 crore shares of 15 companies that will become eligible for trading in the month of November. But before I proceed any further, here's a caveat that the lock-in periods ending only means that the shares will become eligible for trading, and it does not necessarily mean that they'll be sold in the market. Now, here's the interesting bit. Now, out of these 182 crore shares, 85% of those belong to only two companies, that is LIC and Mankind Pharma. Now, I'll start with LIC first, and we've been reporting about this since August that 126.5 crore shares of LIC will become eligible for trading once its lock-in period ends on the 13th of November. Now, LIC is India's largest IPO. It listed in May last year, but since then it has not managed to see its IPO price of 949 rupees. Now currently it's down 36% from that price. Now other companies in this list whose 18-month lock-in period would be ending in November include Campus Activewear, eMudra, Ethos. All of them will have 20% of their outstanding shares becoming eligible for trading. Now the second company that I highlighted was Mankind Pharma, and more than the number of shares here, it is the fact that 70% of its outstanding shares will become eligible for trading once its lock-in period ends on the 6th of November. Now unlike LIC, Mankind Pharma has done pretty well for itself despite being a pure offer for sale IPO. Now this stock is up 60% from its IPO price, having listed in May last year. Now other companies whose 12-month lock-in is ending this month include Fusion Microfinance and Keynes Tech. Now both these companies have also done very well for themselves since their IPO. Now we come to the recent listings, and they will have their 3-month lock-in period ending this month, and they include SBFC Finance, Concord Biotech, TVS Supply Chain, Pyramid Technoplast, Aeroflex, Vishnu Prakash Punglia, and all of these companies will have somewhere between 2 to 4% of their outstanding shares that will become eligible for trading. Now lastly, two contrasting stocks which will have their 2+ year lock-in period ending this month. Now Mazagon Dock, as we have all known and reported on extensively, with the more successful PSU IPOs in recent times, barring the recent correction. But on the other hand, Gland Pharma has huffed and puffed its way back to its IPO price, now trading above it as well after some good earnings in the June quarter. Both of these stocks will see 20% of their outstanding shares free up for trade. Now all in all, there are multiple stocks, but of course the street will watch out for LIC and how it reacts post that lock-in period ending, if at all it does react, that is.
All right, thanks Hormaz for getting us those details. Moving on then, top industry leaders gathered last evening in Mumbai to pick the winners of the 19th India Business Leaders Awards. Now the winners will be announced in a few days' time, and Shireen Bayan sat down with the jury members. All the top CEOs are upbeat that India growth story will continue despite the global slowdown. While they were upbeat on growth, the CEOs also highlighted that India needs to do more to attract foreign capital. Now, as we slip into a break, listen in to some of those top voices coming in from IBLA jury.
We look at the per capita consumption of across all categories that we play in a large swath of categories. We're very, very diversified. Are still, 1/6 of neighboring countries, and so there's a huge amounts of opportunity in growing consumption. And we can see that happening at different tiers of the market. So I think the many forces such as digitization, the access to information, the access to aspiration, drive, the consuming class wanting to upgrade, all of that hunger to have a better quality of life, all of that is in scale in India. It is going to be and is the best consumer story of this decade.
We are clearly seeing premiumization, but India is much more than the consumption story. India is taking leadership in the world today. And the key areas we are seeing that is one with regard to combating climate change. That's creating a host of opportunities in India. The solar challenge or the renewables challenge that's been put out by the Prime Minister is one that is enabling us to grow our solar business multifold. And you're going to see that across multiple industries that will contribute to renewables. The second is around Make in India. Today, Indian companies are making world-class products and are beating global leaders in India. And the next step for us is to beat global leaders around the world.
Welcome back. And really, bears are taking a tighter grip on the markets. Let's talk about some international developments then. On the conflict in West Asia, Israel is keeping up its assault in Gaza with a deadly airstrike that hit a refugee camp, killing a key commander of Hamas. NBC's Richard Engel gets us the ground report.
Israel devastated part of a refugee camp on the edge of Gaza City, carrying out what it called a large-scale strike in one of the most densely populated areas in the world. A nearby Hamas-run hospital said dozens were killed and hundreds injured. NBC News cannot independently confirm those figures. The camp is full of apartment buildings, and people can be seen carrying away wounded and dead and digging through rubble. Israel said it was targeting one of the leaders of Hamas's October 7th massacre of 1,400 Israelis, and that its strike collapsed a subterranean structure. Israel blamed Hamas for the civilian deaths, saying Hamas uses civilians as human shields. Perhaps the only thing not in dispute in this war is that civilians in Gaza are suffering, and that the hospitals needed to care for the growing number of injured are barely functioning.
This has been a massacre that's been unfolding, and now we're getting to the final chapter of this massacre where even the wounded will not be spared. The world needs to intervene now.
UNICEF calling Gaza a graveyard for thousands of children. Israel has rejected a ceasefire, saying it would be a surrender to Hamas.
Everything we're seeing here in southern Israel indicates that this ground offensive is still ramping up, with more and more troops heading into Gaza.
Israel says it struck 300 Hamas targets and that it's hunting Hamas commanders. It claims this strike killed an architect of the mass murder of Israelis in 2 kibbutzes near Gaza, as Israel increased its estimate once again of the hostages held in Gaza, now to 240. One is back with her family, Private Ori Magidish, rescued by Israeli troops. While Natalie Ranan, an American teenager taken hostage by Hamas, is also back home in the Chicago area. She was freed 11 days ago.
All right, that is the situation right now in West Asia. We're going to keep bringing you updates on that front, but we also have Sun Pharma's numbers flashing at the bottom of the screen. Revenue has come in at around 12,200 crores. So this is better than what our own poll was expecting, which was closer to around 12,000 crores. The net profit has also come in better than expected at around 2,375 crores versus the estimate that we had of around 2,185 crores. Ekta, I know these are just the initial numbers, but looks like a beat from what we have so far.
Well, yes, Pavitra, and it's not a significant change as compared to our poll. So it's largely an inline set of numbers, I'd have to say. So the profit is definitely, above estimate. So it's come in at a growth of around 5% and the street was working with a possible decline of around 3% So that's definitely a positive which has come through. But nonetheless, in terms of the revenue, I think it's come in at a growth of around 11% this time round as compared to our poll of around a 10% growth. Now, the margins too have come in at around 26%. We were anticipating 26% in terms of margins. So that too has come in line with estimates. It seems as though, the US business, which is basically their specialty sales, where they do sell drugs such as Winlevi, Sequoia, as well as a couple of other drugs such as Illumia, which is for psoriasis, Winlevi is for acne, and Sequoia is for eyes. All of those have contributed quite significantly in terms of the US piece. Now, we will have to wait by to see what exactly the specialty sales have generated in terms of total sales this time, whether or not Revlimid generic has contributed as much. But based on what we're seeing, this estimates that we were working with for Sun Pharma in terms of, say, the generic business contributing over $400 million, Revlimid generic coming in at around $30 to $40 million, the specialty sales business also contributing on a year-on-year basis. It seems as though those numbers would largely be in line based on what they have reported. There's no big surprise which has come through for the numbers. It is a steady state of numbers where the revenue has grown 11%. We have margins which have come in at a steady 26%, and we've got the profit which has grown around 5%. So as of now, I would say no surprises which have come in terms of what they have reported. The internals will give us more of an idea in terms of how the company has done. And obviously the internals, such as what they have done in terms of the specialty sales, US generics business, India growth, which is expected to be around 9 to 10%. So I think the street would wait by for that. Profit has been a marginal beat. Otherwise, it's been an inline set of numbers. Okay, well, we are waiting by for more details with regards to Sun Pharma. As of now, as you can see, the stock is reacting quite steadily. The stock is up around 0.8%. Just want to point out that with regards to Sun, there are a couple of more details which we would watch out for. Is, for example, what the status of a couple of their key plants such as Halol as well as Mohali would be, because remember that both those plants have been under the scanner. They haven't really been contributing in terms of the business, so that would be an important factor to watch out for. Specialty sales, like I mentioned, the street was working with around $240 to $242 million. We'll wait by for the press release to get a detail in terms of how much it's contributed. This compares to $232 million in the previous quarter. Overall, I'd have to say that based on what they have reported, it's largely an inline set of numbers, no surprises which have come through at this point in time for Sun Pharma. As you can see, the stock is up around 1%.
So, Ekta, right now the stock has also positively reacted to that, and yes, the numbers are good. But what are the key aspects that you're looking out for from the management commentary there?
Oh, with regards to the commentary, we will probably wait by to get an assessment in terms of what the US generics business is going to look like for them in terms of a run rate, what the price pressure will look like, and the guidance with regards to the specialty business. We do have Prakash Diwan who's joining in to discuss the Sun numbers for us. Prakash, hi, welcome to the show. Well, it seems as though it's a good set of numbers. We can't complain. We were anticipating a revenue growth of 10%. They've reported 11%. Margins are 26%. It's in line with estimates, and a profit growth of 5%. That's better than estimates because we were anticipating a decline of 3%. Your overall assessment on what Sun has reported in Q2?
Yeah, thanks, Ekta. I don't think there's anything in the numbers that warrants any fireworks. I don't think, the margins are beyond what was already anticipated at 26%. 26.1, 26.2, whatever you want to kind of, but apart from that, splitting hair on that, what the revenue is also very much in line. What's nice to see is the profit growth, and that could probably be, we'll have to see what's led to that, because the revenue also at 12,200 odd is kind of in line with what we were anticipating. What's going to set this apart from more than these numbers is going to be what's that you could look forward to, look ahead. And if that is going to be something which is going to take Sun Pharma's revenue model and margin profile into a different band, then there is some excitement around the stock, and which means that at 1100 odd the stock is actually not overpriced. So there anything positive on the commentary will actually help the stock get a very firm footing for the next 3-4 quarters. So I think the numbers are good, sets a very good base, fulfills most of the expectations. But it's what's ahead, what lies ahead, that's going to be more important.
Okay, so when you say what lies ahead, what is the commentary that you'd probably look for from the company this time? Any key deliverables that you're watching out for,
yes,
in terms of numbers?
So you of course you know this better than all of us, that Sun Pharma has always been languishing for a long time to move up on the value chain. So the specialty chemical business, which they have been investing so much of resources into distribution and all of that, that hasn't started contributing in a very significant way yet. But if they see traction in the markets, in the US market particularly, converting itself into realizations, then there is ample headroom for a re-rating. The second thing that you would look for in the commentary is, what's the pipeline for some of the new drugs, which of course they could be in the generic side, but if there is some sort of a visibility in terms of monetizing that, that could also help. And some of their subsidiaries have actually reported very robust growth, which is something which gives them a very strong balance of sorts, for the standalone business and for the subsidiaries both to grow. So my sense is it'll probably be the specialty chemicals and the monetization of the pipeline. And the way the US FDA is behaving, we've seen, we've got in the first 6 months of the year almost like 60% of the total ANDA approvals have come to India as compared to the US and China and Europe and also, which means that our companies, and Sun being a proxy of sorts to the large cap pharma play, will benefit much more with a 6-month lag. So, that's why the commentary ahead is going to be more important.
Okay, all right, Prakash. We're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and taking us through the results. So no surprises which have come through. In fact, it is a result with a positive bias, I would say. That is Sun Pharma. As you can see, the stock has moved to the high point of the day. We'll wait by for the internals, but the reported revenue, EBITDA, as well as profit is definitely in line to higher than estimates.
All right, and it's around a 1.5% move that we are seeing on the stock right now. We will also hear from the management at their conference call at around 6:30 today, so watch for that. But with that, we have to wind down on the show. As we do that, let's just bring you an important word coming in. AU Small Finance is in focus after the bank acquired South India-based FinCare SFB. Now, AU will give 579 shares of AU SFB for every 2,000 shares held in FinCare. This acquisition gives AU a massive presence in South India, as FinCare SFB has a presence in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, as well as Karnataka. We spoke with Sanjay Agarwal, who's MD and CEO at AU Small Finance Bank. So listen in to what he had to say.
By this merger, we'll get the scale, we'll get the pan-India, we'll be completing, I think we'll be complete in all product range. You know that our 81 license is also getting operationalized next year. And I think at the appropriate time, board should take decision with the consultation of regulator that if they feel that we are fit enough to manage the expectation of a universal bank also, then we should move on. Overall holding would be around sub 10, and the holdco will have around maybe close to 8.5%. And then, by their own discretion, they will be liquidating the holdco structure, and their end holders will get the AU shares. But True North, in all sense, would be around 3% of AU, and which is under 5. So, and I'm very happy to get them on our board because they are one of the most established, well-governed, and has a lot of respect for them in the PE industry. This is bank merger, so we don't require NCLT approval. And you also know that we are not looking for much waivers or dispensations for any of the regulator. And we have moved very quickly in last quarter itself. And I believe that next 2 quarters are good enough to get us merged.